Jimmy Barnes, it's great to see you this particular way. Normally it'd be face to face, but I guess we're still face to face.
It's a strange world. It's a strange world. We've got I've done lots of meetings now. I'm meeting grandkids. I'm doing exercise on Zoom. You name it. It's all happening.
Well, you did the 20th century once. Now we've got the 21st century, and all the old rules have gone.
Here we are. That's it.
Yeah, well, I've been enjoying seeing your face and Jane's face every night when you get together and do the songs. That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been good, isn't it? She's really sort of powered on, coming into her own. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Is there a potential Jane Barnes album, Jimmy?
Who knows? Maybe. You know what? Actually, what we're going to do? Because we've been in lockdown for a couple of weeks here because we've got a show on the weekend in Darwin. And because, Sydney's a bit of a hotspot, everybody's had to come to the Highlands, Southern Highlands, and hang with us so we can all travel up there. We're going to be clear for 2 weeks before you go up to Darwin. And while we're down here, we started bumping a few of these tracks down. And we want to just keep them. The joy of them is that me and Jane we're not over rehearsed. It's pretty rough and ready. And it's all about the groove and the feel and just have some fun. So we've been throwing a few down and just seeing how they pop up. If there's the beauty of a good song. If it's a good song, it's a good song. It's got to work. Yeah. And and obviously with Jane's guitar playing's got better every day. She just brings joy to the track doing it. So it's just great fun. We're loving it. So there could be an album. Who knows? Wait and see. The Jane Barnes Band.
I'm up for it. We've had Working Class Boy and Working Class Man, 2 best-selling albums. Now we have the new book, and here it is, Killing Time. And I guess, with the first 2 books, you were telling the story of your life. It was sort of the what and when of the life of Jimmy Barnes. Killing Time is, I guess, the why and how, with a whole series of short stories.
Well, it is, and it's not stuff I forgot to talk about. It's sort of stuff in between the lines as well. I mean, there's things, talking, so much of the first book was about, my childhood in Elizabeth, for instance, and I've been back to Elizabeth so many times over since I became, a singer and ran away from Elizabeth. I've gone back so many times, and it's always been a dark, horrible place for me because of the memories that I had sort of locked inside that I hadn't shared with anybody, that hadn't spoken about. And it was, I talk about this story in the book, Broken Homecoming, and, I was going back there with Jane last time I went there, and it must have been because I'd let all this stuff go. I'd let it all go in these 2 books, and I got back there, and Elizabeth still had this sense of darkness and all this about it to me. But I was standing there right opposite where a lot of this horrible part of my life had been spent. And I started, it was like ghosts from the past coming to me. It was like I remembered, running through those paddocks with my mates, just having a ball, forgetting about everything that was getting us all. We're all, suffering, struggling, and I just remember those moments of joy. Like whether it was walking through there with my big brother, John, and hearing stories from him. But suddenly, the whole place, as dark as it had been to me, had a sense of joy about it as well. And I walked away feeling like I sort of belonged. There was a sense of belonging there, and that for me was a real. That was sort of rounding up of 40 years of 50 years of pain, and that felt really great to do it. It doesn't mean I want to move back there, but I could connect to the place on a level that wasn't just about pain, and that was a really great feeling, And I felt
you seem to have a bit of a theme with ghosts of the past in this, and I detect that you're quite a perceptive person when it comes to walking into a room, not only walking into Elizabeth, but walking into Trafalgar, walking into Bearsville Studios, and really feeling the presence in these places.
Well, you know, just there's some places you go and you feel at ease, and there's some places where you don't. Sometimes you don't understand why. Sometimes it's really obvious. You know, this thing. You know, I've walked into rooms and I've felt just cold, and I felt things, you know, in the rooms, and you know, and I don't know whether that's from my upbringing or not, but you know, and I know I just don't want to be there. And then there's other rooms like Bearsville where I just couldn't quite put my finger on it, and I'm in there, and it was such a great room and such, you know, haunted by such great, you know, the band and people like that, you know, and Dylan and all this great music had been made there, and they're incredibly old, you know, beautiful equipment. And I'm going, there's something different, something I can't put my finger on here. And then you know, when I got told that, you know, that somebody had been killed there, killed his wife there with a knife, and it was, you know, like long before it was a studio, and it was, you know, and the ghost visits here at night, and I'm going, oh bloody hell, no wonder I couldn't sleep, you know. And it was, you know, I kept shutting the door, and apparently they don't shut the door because the ghost doesn't like the door shut. So, you know, and I'm not really, you know, I sort of believe in ghosts, but you know, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see any, you know, but they just sort of happen occasionally, you know.
Well, there's one line. It says, it wasn't a nice room, not enough to be killed in, which begs the question, Jimmy, how nice does a room have to be for you to be killed in?
Well, it's going to be a really good room. No, that was, yeah, that's true. Well, I certainly, you know, put it this way, it was a nice room, but it wasn't nice enough to even take the risk. Maybe if a room was really good, I'll give it a chance.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to kill me anyway, as you might have learned, you know, over the years. That takes a lot to kill me anyway.
This book picks up, well, many stories over the decades, but it ends now. There's pictures of you on the train in Asia writing the book as you're going. And right at the start of this whole COVID thing, you were about to jump on a plane, well, you did, and go away on a holiday. That became short-lived as a result of this. Had you already decided to write the book at that point?
Oh yeah, the plan was I'd started writing a couple of stories, and I'm one of these. I'm a sort of person who I've got like a mono brain. I can't think about two things at once. I can be in touring mode, or I can be in writing mode, and I haven't really mastered the art of doing both. But so I'd planned as usual. I'd finish touring and get away and you know, just get away from everything and travel, because when I travel, I think I relax, you know. But I realize that part of that is that thing about running from yourself all the time, you know. I'm sort of constantly running from myself, and over the period of the last, you know, 4 or 5 years since writing the first book, I've slowly come to be more comfortable with myself. And anyway, I you know, we did, you know, a Criminal Record tour and the Cold Chisel tour back to back. And I thought, I need a holiday. I need to get away. I need to have a break, you know. And I didn't want to stay home because I want to be somewhere else, you know. And so we planned this like about 10 weeks tour. Jane and I were going to go with Asia, you know, train from Singapore to Thailand, stay at the beach in Thailand for a couple of weeks, then go to Istanbul and sail, you know, just take in Istanbul. I've never been to Istanbul, take in the sights there, and then sail around to Italy, and then, you know, stay in Italy for a couple of weeks and visit some friends, go to south of France and visit friends there, and then go up to Scotland and go around Scotland on it. There was going to be lots of train travel. It was always going to be that. But it was all planned, and really, you know, it was me. I just don't like to keep still. You know, I just want to be moving all the time. And I realized in the process, well, what happened was COVID started just, you know, about the day we were due to leave. You know, that started really taking off in the world. I remember being in the lounge, the airport lounge, and it was going, oh, you know, there's cases outside China, and it's happening in, you know, Bangkok, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm just heading to Thailand, you know. So I figured I could get to the beach in Thailand, because there won't be any there. It's a small town. And we managed to get on the train, and even on the train, everybody starts off their own tuxedos and is dressed up, and it's nice. And then someone in the car starts having this hacking cough, and you can see the whole look. And it was slowly this hysteria that was building up in the world because of COVID, and because it was, you know, it was unfolding. It was, you know, people were suddenly dying everywhere. You know, not once we got to the beach in Thailand, Italy, you know, just locked down, and so many people died there, and it was starting to take off in America and France and Istanbul and all the places we're going to go. So we got to Thailand, and we just thought, you know what, we're going to have to just stay here. We'll stay here and see what happens. And we were in Hoi Hin, the town by the beach, for a couple of weeks, and I wrote every day. And part of my writing, I'd write this diary because every day I'd wake up and something new was happening with the COVID, and so I was sort of keeping a record of it. And it was just this sort of, it was not just hysteria, it was becoming reality, and it was sort of closing in all around the world. So we got to the point where Jane and I thought, well, we've got to do one or two things. We either got to, stay here, could be here for 6 months, or go home quick. If we don't do it quick, we won't get home. So Jane and I got on a flight, and we got back just before the lockdown, and basically we came and we quarantined at home. And it was sort of this forced thing where, because I always feel I have to go away to relax, but we got here, and after a couple of weeks, we're going, it's so nice to be here. And then it's a month, and I'm going, God, it's good to be here. And I'm getting so relaxed. And then Jane and I, thought about it, and suddenly it's 6 months, and we're just having the best time. The world around us is falling apart, and COVID gave me the opportunity to find comfort in my own home and in my own skin, because I always kept running, so I didn't have to feel. Always keep running, so I don't have to, look back. And sitting here and finishing my book here, I got the opportunity to be able to look back without fear. To look forward without sort of fear. Just everything just happens in its time. And the 7 months that it's been now that Jane and I have been in Burma in our house is it's the longest we've ever stayed still since we've known each other. It's the longest I've stayed still my whole life. And I'm really thankful I got the opportunity to do it, and we wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for COVID. So as much as COVID has caused such hell and havoc and pain throughout the world, for me here, it's made me sort of sit and live with myself, which has been a really great thing. And I think I'm going to be a better person because of it.
It's not the first time you've faced fear. It sounds like you went through a really fear-orientated time in your life when you had to face the full Monty. Tell us about the full Monty story.
Oh man, that's really Rachel Ward, who's married to Brian Brown. Rachel's a lovely girl, and Brian's a good mate. And Rachel rang me one day, and it was one of those days, because I was in the thick of it. I was just drinking and binging, partying every night. And Rachel rang me one morning. I think I'd been up for a couple of days, and she said, "Oh, hey Jimmy, would you, in that posh voice, would you do the full Monty for me, please?" I said, "Yeah, no worries, Rachel, for you." I thought she was kidding, Yeah, anytime you want, I'll come over and do it now if you like, just joking. And then and I forgot about it. And then 6 months later or something, Brian goes, "You're bloody beauty, mate. You're a bloody top bloke." And I'm going, "What are you talking about?" "You're doing the Monty for the missus, bloody great." And I'm like, "Fuck, this is serious." And I'd forgotten about it. And so my intention was immediately to weasel my way out of it. But I couldn't, because Rachel had used me and Brian, obviously, were the bait to get all the other guys to do it. And so she got all these sort of actors and activists and all sorts of people in to do this. It was for a kids charity to raise money for single parents and stuff like that, women with kids. And Rachel was a really great, persuasive girl who really cares. So we thought, well, I can't get out of it, And then I thought, oh, fuck, maybe I've got to be away. She found the date was already sold, so I couldn't blow it out. So I had to face my fears. I'm like the guy who is more comfortable. Like I get on stage and put clothes on. I'm good at that. And like I say in the book, I'm the only person who, even in the 45-degree heat on tour, playing in pubs around Sydney, wore full army fatigues and a headband, because I wouldn't even wear a singlet, wouldn't take my shirt off, just because I'm not, I don't like doing it. And so this was a huge challenge for me. And I remember they sent Paul Mercurio, who's a lovely chap, came to try and teach me to dance. Poor bastard. He tried his best, but he could only do so much. When you dance I dance like an elephant tied to a chain, not to a tree. And so eventually there was no way out of it, and I had to do it. And somehow we got through I remembered the routines on the night, I was pretty sloppy, but everybody else was too, so it didn't matter. And somehow, at the end of it, Rachel sold, for the charity, a photograph. This lady got to choose, to have a photo with us, and for $30,000. And I think Nicole Kidman might have donated 30 grand too, because she's mates of theirs. She might have donated 30 grand and just to be in the photo too. But not that she wanted the photo with us, but when Rachel came around with the photos to sign, she was so funny. She said to me, Jimmy, we had TV crews with media everywhere, and there's not one photo of you in your entirety. I go, what do you mean, Rachel? She said, managed to duck here and weave there. And so somehow I kept myself to myself.
I love the larrikin Jimmy. One story in particular with Deepak Chopra, and only somebody like a Jimmy Barnes could do the smart-ass type line to somebody like Deepak. You asked him the question if he was a guru like the Maharishi, and he came out with a line back at you.
Yeah, no, because I'd heard Deepak saying it before, and I never really understood. And I said, look at the word, Jimmy, G-U-R-U. And I'm going, yeah. G-U-R-U. And I still to this day, I'm not sure whether they were saying we're all gurus or we've all got powers. I don't know, or he was just saying, no, I'm not, because Deepak's a really grounded fella. He's a really good fella. And I know Deepak loves music, and he used to sit and he'd prod me and talk to me about how does the crowd react when you do this? What do you think? Do certain tones evoke different emotions in the crowd? And I'm saying certainly, certain keys. It's like D minor, the saddest key of all. It does affect music, affects you like that. So he was really interested in the effects of music on masses. And that was a really interesting, and he's done records sort of experimenting with that, trying to get, he used them for meditation, music for meditation and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, Deepak was a good mate of ours, and I'd spent a lot of time with him. I went to India meditating with him I went there when I went to India with Deepak. I started, the start of the day, I could sit and meditate for like 3 minutes. And I was like, and then I saw like itchy feet, and the whole room's quiet, and I'm trying not to shuffle about and tap my fingers. By the end of the week, I was doing like 4 or 5 hours a day, and just because you're in the presence of all these people and this energy, and it was great just sitting on the beach in India, meditating. And I never thought I could do that. So he's pretty good at what he does, and he's a good dear friend. And whenever we get together, he invites me to his clinics and I've sang songs at his clinics and for his seminars and stuff. But he always invites me to dinner, and he has the most eclectic sort of mix of people with him. I remember the dinner that you're talking about. The guest of honor was Rosa Parks. And, like Rosa was just amazing. There was Donna Karan, and, there was bloody industrialists and bloody, environmentalists and billionaires everywhere, that sort of stuff. And there was me and Jane, and I felt like a fish out of water, but I was sitting and I'd had a sort of run in with these guys at the hotel who I didn't know who Rosa was going to be the guest speaker. And they bashed on my door, and when I was in the shower, and I ran down and just told them, fuck off. And they were Rosa's minders. They were there looking for Rosa. I go, no, Rosa, fuck off. I'm in the towel and I'm wet, and I'm, just ran down the stairs. And then I get to Deepak's dinner, and there are these guys, the same guys are standing with Rosa Parks. They're looking after her, and they look like, like they're in the sort of the Louis Farrakhan sort of. All right, good. Anyway, they look like they were, Louis Farrakhan sort of offsiders, and suddenly Rosa spoke, and for me, I was sitting 5 feet from Rosa Parks when she told the story, and it was so heartfelt, and so a woman with such strength and dignity and just courage and not outspoken and not loud, and I sat there and I just felt like connected. I felt like a connection to the world through, Rosa. It was just incredible. And I felt like I was blessed to actually be in the room there, and I got to sing for her. But it was a very strange day. And I remember walking back, to my hotel later thinking, I better not go out tonight because those 2 bouncers will kill me.
One final question before we head off, and it was somewhat of a confession. I was very surprised to read you say this about the song Kaysan. The song means so much to many Australians, I never grew to like it. Yet you perform it in every show.
Oh no, I never grew to like the original recording. I love the song. I mean, but I think the first album, my Cold Chisel's first album is like, it was groundbreaking for us, because it was our first record, but it didn't sound anything like the band. It didn't, when we played K-San, it was like, it was powerful, and this was recorded and played like a country and western band. So I don't like much of that first record at all, except for the songs. The songs are great, but if you look at what Cold Chisel were like as a band at the time and what we capture on record, they're two different animals. And that's what I meant. I mean, I think K-San is one of the best songs ever written.
And that and more stories in the book, Killing Time.
In the book. We'll move in next year. See you soon.